And welcome back, everybody. So today I'm just going to be talking about the iPad mini and everything that it has offered to me ever since I bought this thing. So this thing has been probably one of the most integral pieces of tech to allowing me to be as efficient as I possibly can. Now, school-wise, I don't typically actually use this when it comes to my production here on YouTube or anything like that. However, one thing that I have discovered is just how absolutely insane this thing is for such a tiny device. Now, the iPad mini is probably very easily one of my favorite pieces of tech. Even though it's not something that released this year, for 2023, it is probably a must-have for a lot of different people. I, for one, am a grad school student, so I would naturally need a computer of sorts, something to do research on, something to do a lot of typing in, since we have gone so digital with pretty much all of my classes. So this is exactly what this helps me accomplish right here. The iPad mini has been such an integral device to helping me get through it. Now, with that said, this is going to be kind of an impromptu review of the iPad mini, just to kind of explain everything that I feel about it. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So now the exterior design for this is just going to consist of aluminum for the entirety of the build, essentially. So that's going to be for the side railings, for the back, and now for the front, it's all obviously going to be glass, since that's going to be where the display itself is. Now, with that said, there are going to be a lot of important factors to this as well to keep into consideration, and it's just the fact that this device is so absolutely thin, and it's so small, to say the least. Now, I don't remember exactly what the screen size was for this device. I'm going to go ahead and put it on screen if anything, but you should be able to see that this thing is very, very, very tiny. It's like one of the smallest tablets that you can get nowadays, essentially. Probably closer to around an 8-inch tablet or something like that, but as is, I think that the iPad mini is really good. And it even has an attachment on the side that's going to be for your Apple Pencil. And speaking for I/O and things like that it's going to have, here we're actually, as a matter of fact, looking at quad speakers. We're going to look at 2 that are at the very top, along with volume controls that are going to be up there, and the sleep wake button, which doubles as a fingerprint scanner. So this is Touch ID, and it has been super accurate, super fast, and just really good to use. So it has been just really convenient to have around. Now, at the bottom, you're going to be looking at the other set of speakers that I mentioned and the USB-C port, and then on the other side, you're going to have that magnetic slot that's going to be for the Apple Pencil. Now, with that said, super great stuff. I do wish that this had some kind of expansion, like micro SD card expansion, but when it comes to Apple products, we're just not going to get anything like that, unfortunately. And we have never gotten anything like that, sadly. So even with my larger iPad Pro, it's just not something that you get, sadly. And that device I use when I do need to do a lot of actual typing, but this device allows me to do a lot of just very comfortable writing on such a tiny device. And the reason why I like it as much as I do is because I could do so much on something so small. Now, recently, I did actually get myself the Google Pixel Fold, which is great. I actually have some of my notes over here for what I'm going to be saying, and it is a device that I do enjoy. I do like it, and it can accomplish a lot as well, but the iPad mini is like its own dedicated device for actually getting work done, so I really like that about it. Now, with that said, when it comes to other things, the display is going to be absolutely amazing on this one. It is going to be very high resolution, though it is capped at 60 Hz. Now, with that in mind, 60 Hz is still totally fine for a device like this, because at 60 Hz, you're not really going to be doing anything all that crazy on this, even though it can accomplish a lot, but you just don't need a higher frame rate than that. I would argue that their latest iPhones probably need a frame rate boost, if anything, but when it comes to the iPad mini, I think that 60 Hz is totally fine. The display is super colorful, it's super vibrant, and the colors do look very good, I want to say. They just look very natural in the sense, like it is the kind of vibrancy that you would expect So it's not like the colors are super exaggerated or anything like that, like how it would be on maybe a Galaxy device or something like that. But the colors on here are just very pleasant to look at. Now, the speakers are going to be really good on this device, and that's actually one of the main reasons why I'm a little bit afraid of carrying this thing around. And it's because the speakers on this are so good, because you have a quad set of speakers that definitely get pretty loud. I'm not going to be giving a demonstration in this video for the speakers or anything like that, but I will say that this is definitely a very good accomplishment when it comes to what they were able to pack into such a small device. Now, granted, they're used to doing this already with their iPhones already having really good speakers, but this is a quad set of speakers, so this is even more powerful. So yeah, absolutely fantastic when it comes to the speakers. They definitely managed to pack something that can get really loud and that can get really low as well, so that's really good for them to do. Now, on this display, I am using a paper-like screen protector for it, which is usually not what I go with, but because I do a lot of writing on this, I wanted the screen to feel like paper so that it would be more comfortable to write on and not as slippery to write with the Apple Pencil. So that's essentially why I decided to go for something like that. Now, when it comes to specs, you're also going to be seeing all of them pretty much on screen at the moment. It is packing a pretty strong set of specs. Now, a little bit outdated by today's standards because it has been, what, I believe maybe 2 years since the iPad mini released, at least this iteration of the iPad mini, the latest one. But either way, these specs definitely hold up very nicely today. And that's one thing that's really nice about Apple hardware. It will last you a while. Now, another thing that I really like to do with this device is actually going ahead and doing some drawing. So I have gone ahead and done quite a bit of drawing on this device, and it is something that I do thoroughly enjoy doing on here, because even though it's so small, and I do actually kind of prefer the iPad Pro for this kind of thing, I think the iPad Pro is something that I mostly prefer for just animation in general, and then this device I kind of prefer it for just simple drawings and things like that. Now, I am trying to design a comic book, but I am kind of undecided of whether or not I want to do it digitally or if it's something that I would want to do on paper. I think I'm going to end up doing it on paper because I think that in general I just kind of prefer to just draw comics on paper. But regardless, this is still super cool, and I think that being able to actually get work done to that capacity on a device like this is really, really, really neat. I use software like Sketchbook Pro, Procreate, and things like that. Procreate usually actually for animation. Sketchbook Pro I'm so used to using on my desktop because I'm actually a Windows guy, even though I do own a Mac that I do take for my lessons, for teaching, and things like that. But I want to say that what you can accomplish with the iPad mini is truly admirable for what it is, and it is something that I do very much appreciate for sure. Now, with that said, when it comes to the art component, one thing that I have noticed with it is that the screen size can sometimes actually get in the way. And that is because when you are used to working on a device that's actually larger, you do start to just notice that something like this ends up feeling a little bit cramped. And that's something that I have experienced throughout my time. So I don't draw on this as often as I do writing, because for writing, I mean, I'm in school, I'm in grad school, so I do end up having to do a lot of that. So yeah, drawing maybe not as much as I would do on the larger iPad Pro, but on the iPad mini, writing is absolutely fantastic, and it's something that I do really enjoy doing. I use applications like Pages, which actually takes whatever I like to write and essentially just goes ahead and it translates it into a typed or print setting I want to say. So like, for example, if I want to write my entire name on here like this, if I want to say let's see, let's go ahead and erase that actually. So I want to write Francisco and then my last name. Let's go ahead and do that. So then I write both of those together, and then it'll just immediately transcribe it onto print, which I think is really cool to have a software that can do that. So I can just write normally pretty much with my handwriting, and it can actually read a surprising amount of it and be able to convert it into something else. So I think that that's just really awesome. and it has helped when it comes to my writing in school and just allowing me to stay efficient, because typing on this, I have gotten used to doing a lot of typing on this, but when it comes to the actual writing aspect, I think that that's where this really shines. But there are so many different software that you can use to really make that work anyway, so I'm sure that you'll find a solution that works for you. Now, another thing that I kind of wanted to address is actually the video editing aspect of this, because I am a video editor, and from time to time I do video editing on the go or while I'm outside. So one thing that I do like to do is go into LumaFusion occasionally from time to time and edit some small snippets. I haven't actually edited a full video for Tech Summit on this actually, so everything that I have edited have just been small snippets with like some color correction here and there, some other things like that. Fortunately, I don't believe LumaFusion supports stabilization as of yet, so that's one thing that I'm still waiting on. But the fact that you can still edit 4K footage on this, super cool, absolutely amazing, and it's something that I really love, and the performance has been really good. I do think that the screen size is actually sufficient enough for video editing, because I think that the interface for LumaFusion is really solid for when it comes to this. So they did a very good job here as well, optimizing LumaFusion to work with a device that's this small. And I think that video editing on the iPad mini is something that's absolutely doable, and something that I would even recommend just as is. I think that it's super neat. And the performance itself is very smooth. I haven't had really any kind of stutters or any kind of hitches with the kind of work that I do. Obviously, to some degree, you will end up pushing this device too far, but I haven't pushed it too far yet with the kinds of edits that I do, and I would venture to think that most people probably won't be able to push it that much, so I think that this is totally fine as is. Now, the last thing that I kind of wanted to touch on here is probably just going to be on the gaming aspect and then on the battery life aspect. So when it comes to gaming, obviously this device is going to be really good for that. I think that the iPad mini, just like any other iPad that you're going to come across, is going to be super good for just about any game that you want to play on it, as long as there are apps from the App Store, of course. Then you're not going to have any issues there. Not that that's going to be something that is going to get in your way, because regardless, you are pretty much stuck with the apps from the App Store when it comes to iPad OS and things like that. So yeah, you're not going to be playing anything too crazy, not doing much emulation or anything like that. But now when it comes to the battery life itself, I would say that this device does really well as well, just as long as you're not maybe just abusing the iPad mini when it comes to what it can accomplish over a long period of time for too long. You could definitely squeeze a whole day out of this if you want to. So if you're a student that is expecting to spend the entire day in school, then you have a device that can definitely handle a lot. It can handle media consumption, so like if you're watching YouTube videos or movies in between classes or things like that, if you have to study, if you have to do multitasking, all of those things are absolutely doable, and things that I do every single day on the iPad mini when I have class. So strongly recommended. It lasts me pretty much all day. If I have to be in school for 8 hours a day, then so be it. This will last me all day, and I do not have to bring a charger with me, which is awesome. Not to mention, this is especially awesome because I have a super low profile case for this that I have, and I just kind of stuff that into my crossbody bag, and I take that with me to school as is. So I have a very small load when it comes to what I carry with me to school, and that is due in part to the fact that I'm using an iPad mini instead of my iPad Pro. So I think that that's awesome. So what are my final thoughts on the iPad mini overall? Well, I think that this device is definitely underrated. I think that this can accomplish so much more than what people give it credit for, really. I think that in 2023, this is an absolute must buy if you are a student, even a student that has to get a lot of different kinds of work done. Now, I will say this, if you're a student that needs something for art, that has to do a lot of drawing and things like that, maybe I would look into the larger iPad Air or the Pro models even, if that is something that you're really interested in, or if it's something that you have to do for your major. I, as a matter of fact, am in it for art education, so at some point I will have to do some art on my device, and when that day comes, the iPad mini might not be able to cut it there, because again, like I said, when it comes to art itself, things get very cramped. But otherwise, when it comes to pretty much everything else, you have a very solid device here. And I had to say that honestly, for an impromptu review that has been completely unscripted with just like a couple of notes on the side, I think that this has been very productive. I think I've covered a lot of the bases on it. Now, what do you think about the iPad mini? I'm genuinely curious and would love to know what you think. So please make sure to let me know in the comments anything that you had to say about the iPad mini. Has the iPad mini saved you from any interesting situations? Have you been using one for a while? Are you using an older generation iPad mini? And are you considering upgrading? Just let me know your thoughts in the comments, because I'm really curious to know what everyone is thinking about it. Thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in getting yourself an iPad mini, I will make sure to leave affiliate links to Amazon in the description, along with the Apple Pencil too, and maybe some cases that I would recommend that you got with it. The reason for that is that if you were to use my links, then I would get a small kickback that would actually help me out quite a bit when it comes to being able to get more review units for the channel. So I would appreciate that a lot very much if you ended up using any of my links. Like, that's just a great help for the channel. So thank you so much if you do. And with that as well, I wanted to point out that there is going to be the TikTok where I do like to post as well. So please make sure to check that out as well. I'm trying to get back into it because YouTube is my priority when it comes to content creation. So yeah, but with that said, this has been Francisco from Tech Summit. Thank you for watching, and until next time, enjoy. Have a good one. Bye-bye.